All right, good morning. We're here in week 11. This is going to be kind of a busy week because everybody's coming back to school, so the sophomores and juniors as well. Obviously, you guys have been kind of into this already for a couple weeks, so no big deal to you. A couple things that we're going to do now this week, transferring into a new unit that we're going to kind of collectively look at over the end of the second try, and then we're going to kind of keep going with it in the third try. But the unit that I like to get into with, kind of once we've established this idea that industrialization has taken hold in the Americas, is what impact intellectually that had on the people. And so obviously, we are transferring from this slave-based economy, this idea of mercantilism that's going back to the crown, and independence happens, and now we kind of transfer into this new industrialized state. So that's going to have a huge impact on the population. You're going to start seeing the movement towards gender equality, race equality. Obviously not perfect, but there's going to be kind of a movement towards those ideas that come through nationalism. And I like to call this unit a new way of thinking, because that's really what happens. And the first thing that we're going to do is look at how the three big leaders in the United States, Mexico, and Canada, so Teddy Roosevelt, John McDonald, and Benito Diaz, basically become kind of the leaders of this new idealism. This thing kind of mixed in with nationalism, but also the idea of creating equality, and then also kind of a new identity for the nation states. So we're going to start off by looking at this presentation in class. And we're going to look at the ideas of these three leaders and what that meant. Sorry, I said Benito Diaz, I meant Porfirio Diaz in Mexico. They all have kind of these ideas, interestingly enough, around the same time period. Porfirio is a little bit earlier than Teddy Roosevelt, and McDonald is kind of in between both of them. But they all have kind of these ideas of a very unified and national social and economic equality message, which is very unique for the time period throughout the world. Because remember, still looking at a lot of the European powers are at this height, if you remember from last year, of imperialism. And the U.S., Mexico, and Canada have kind of this very unique way that they start to transfer into this period of industrial growth. And so in this assignment, you're going to use that presentation, which is attached. I'm going to talk about it also the first day of class, but if you're not in here and you missed the Google Meet, you can go and review this. And then you're going to use these readings to fill out this chart. So the idea here is that you fill out this chart with at least 5 details per, it says 3 detailed sentences in each square. The idea is that you get at least 5 details for each person. So obviously there's 3 different elements and ways that you can go. So you're pretty much just looking for an extra 2 details for whichever box. And you won't have the equal number of ideas or information in there. But ultimately you want to be able to create so you could have almost like a paragraph comparison between 2 of the leaders or all 3 of those, and kind of the idea of a running comparison for an essay. All right, and so the second thing, we're just going to have the 2 assignments this week. The second thing that you're going to work on is one of the first kind of elements of what we're going to start looking at, different groups of people who very much changed. And this first thing is more of kind of a throwback to literature and history, where we are going to read something called The Yellow Wallpaper, which is a story written by an American writer, Charlotte Perkins Gilman. And it explains kind of the role of women and the movement away from the culture of domesticity, the cult of domesticity. And basically what you're going to do is read this. There's also an audiobook if you like. The link to the reading is right here. And basically you can read the link and complete the active reading guide, or you can read through and provide at least a list of 10 annotations or 10 facts as they relate to history. And so you have kind of a combination of that. And that's all we're going to do the second day, is just work on reading that and taking some notes. And then if you're in class that second day on Thursday, we'll talk about it as a whole class and kind of look at the uniqueness of it and how it applies to American history. And so what we're going to eventually do in this unit is look at like different roles of people and kind of consider this idea of these plans and then how they eventually kind of play out for different groups of people. And we'll particularly spend a lot of time looking at how African Americans start to transfer in their new life as the first generation in the early 1900s who were born outside of slavery. So if you think about that, a little bit about how segregation and the idea of Jim Crow started to kind of really shift the idea of our social fabric and how that started to change. All right, so if you have any questions, please let me know, and I can give you some more specifics on these assignments.